Welcome back to the program. Zev Brenner with us once again. Zvi Gluck, he does so much for our community. He's with Amudim, with Zaka, you name it, he's there. And we're here to pay tribute to a very special man who also was there for our community. I'm talking about the legendary Rabbi Ronnie Greenwald of blessed memory, just passed away, a founder of Camp Magen Avram, Camp Sternberg, involved with some intrigue in the Cold War with swapping spies, but also very much involved in chesed on a day-to-day basis. So, Zvi, thank you for joining us.
No, please, thank you for having me. I'm sorry that it's for this topic, though.
No, I'm sorry, it's under these circumstances. I knew Ronnie. I went to Magen Avram. I had him on the air over the years. Very interesting, very special person. You go back with him even before you were born.
Yeah, that's true. Him and my father, Rabbi Stark, have worked together for over a year in helping Klal Yisrael.
So tell us, because a lot of people know him, a lot of people that are listening may not be as familiar with him as they should be. So how would you describe Rabbi Ronnie Greenwald?
A legend. There's no other word to describe. A man who literally lived selflessly for everybody else, very, very humble, and really, truly cared about each and every person that came to him for help, and broke every barrier when it came to bringing very, very sensitive topics in Klal Yisrael to the forefront.
Now, you're involved in dealing with kids at risk and dealing with people of abuse and dealing with runaway kids. You name it, you're there. In a sense, Rabbi Ronnie Greenwald was there even before you got started in this.
Rabbi Greenwald was a legend. When I first entered this field, about 17, 18 years ago, I had sat with Rabbi Greenwald to discuss with him what I was seeing and what I wanted to do, and he took his guidance and direction, and that's been carrying me for many years, up until 2 years ago when we founded our own organization. And he was with us from day one as the chairman of our advisory board, and really involved in many aspects of many cases, and, you know, sleepless nights, days, and really, I mean, there's just no words to describe it.
Now, the Jewish community today, you can talk about sexual abuse, you can talk about different kinds of mental illnesses, you can talk about all different issues. That wasn't the case 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And a lot of times people had issues in dealing with families and dealing with their private lives, and there was very few people that you could turn to. But Rabbi Ronnie Greenwald was one of them.
Rabbi Ronnie Greenwald broke the barriers of publicly talking about these topics, you know, as long as I can remember, and even longer, whether it's the Agudic conventions, Torah Masorah venues, you know, you name it, he was up there. It didn't make it. He said what needed to be said. He discussed, you know, kids at risk, sexual abuse, addiction. You know, he founded, you know, a school in Muncie Academy for girls, for, you know, people that the girls had nowhere to go. He always used camp as a method to keep these kids close to him. And he went in from the biggest politicians to the biggest Hasidic Rabbanim to the biggest Litvish Rabbanim. He knew no barriers. He did not know how to not try to help somebody, and he did not shy down when he knew that what he was doing was right.
One of the things that I think a lot of people passed through his tutelage was the camps Magen Avram and Camp Sternberg. Magen Avram was for boys. I remember when I was there, it was at Livingston Manor, it was in White Lake, it had a lot of different carnations. Camp Sternberg, I don't know if you went to Camp Magen Avram too. If you did, or perhaps you can tell just some interesting stories about Rabbi Ronnie Greenwald that you heard or experienced.
Well, the stories I really can't say because they're mostly going to be confidential, but my wife has been the nurse, one of the nurses in Camp Sternberg for the last 7, 8 years. And I can tell you that many times issues came up in camp in the wee hours, early hours of the morning, late hours at night. And he always got right up on the forefront and dealt with each individual camper as if they were his own child. Many times taking them back after the summer to live by him, making sure that they had a place to go. I mean, just recently, this past summer, he called me right after camp about a girl that wasn't frum for many years and had a child and then decided to become frum again. And as a single mother, it was very difficult to get this kid into a school. And he called me up and he said, there's no stopping. This girl, this Jewish neshama must be placed in a school. And there's nothing anybody can say about it. Whatever the past was is irrelevant. And he fought tooth and nail, and Baruch Hashem, This is just one case that I know about where the odds were stacked against. No firm school wants to take in a product, of such a relationship, and he pushed, and Baruch Hashem got it done. And then when I was relaying this story, I kept hearing many, many more. So he really took an interest in everything he dealt with as if it was his own family.
That he certainly did, and even though he was getting on in years, but from what I understand, he didn't slacken off from doing what he did for the klal, for the community.
I could safely tell you that I was on the phone with him yesterday. At 6 p.m., he had sent me a message to call him regarding a new case that came up, and he wanted to discuss the details with me. And there was no stopping him at all. And this is the relationship that we've probably haven't had 2 to 3 days that went by in the last, I would say, 2 years that we haven't spoken. Even when he was in Eretz Yisrael or when I was traveling, there was always something. And he really, for me personally, I could say a role model. Someone who showed me that, you have to do what's right, even when it might not be popular.
No, that's certainly the case. And by the way, you have seen how the Jewish community has changed, where people can deal with issues today, which I think is healthy, because if you don't want to deal with issues, it just gets compounded and it gets worse. And I know in your day-to-day work, whenever I'm calling, you're involved in people calling you from all different kinds of communities and different places where people reside, all different problems that are there, whether it's kids at risk and dealing with autopsies and dealing with all kinds of problems. You're there. That, in a sense, is the new activism.
It really is, and it's people, L'chaim, it's like Rabbi Ronnie, Greenwald, and people like my father, who Baruch Hashem has, also does and continues to do so much for Klal Yisrael, that really taught me and shaped me and molded it, not just for me, but for so many people. I mean, my entire, staff has been very, very close, to Rabbi Greenwald, and I can't even tell you how many times we've had questions of what to do. And the answer is always simple. Call Ronnie. He'll give us the answer. And it may not be the answer that we were expecting, or it may not be the popular answer, but that was him. That's what made him special.
Who do you call now?
That's a good question. I really, really don't know. I mean, this is the person who broke every mold when it came to these sensitive issues that we deal with. And there's a tremendous void in all of Klal Yisrael and all over the globe. I mean, I could tell you stories, whether it was in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in the United States, in Israel, and he somehow had a fingerprint on everything, and he had his finger on the pulse. I mean, he kept up with the times, and really, age did not mean anything to him, and there was no such thing with him as we have to do it this way, because that's the way it was done before. It was always looking for new, innovative ways to help people, finding new services, new programs, new treatment centers, always on the go, always running.
I might add, by the way, we're speaking with Zvi Gluck, Executive Director of Amudim, involved with Zaka, which is a relief group. Amudim helps families with problems, especially dealing with today's abusive situation and other issues that come up, very much involved with the Jewish community. His father is Rabbi Edgar Gluck, also an Oscar community leader, who is, among his titles, is currently the chief rabbi of Galicia, in which he travels to as well on a regular basis.
Yep, that's very true.
So as we close out, if you had to sum up and say, what is the legacy of Rabbi Ronnie Greenwald, of blessed memory, who just passed away, what would you say his legacy is?
To think of every person in pain as if they're your own family, and do for them what you would do for your own family, whether you know them or not.
Now, as we close out, we focused on the Gemilas Chasadim and the Chesed and the kindness and the things that he did for the Klal, for the community. There's just another book out there about what he did in the Cold War with trading spies. I'm sure you heard about some of the stories. I know you don't have first-hand knowledge, but what do you know about his other activities that he did, the intriguing stuff, the stuff that was of international legend?
So, I mean, spending Shabbos morning after davening in Camp Sternberg and having Kiddush with the rest of the staff and hearing Rabbi Greenwald talk about all the different things that he dealt with was something extremely inspiring. And, he never really went into much details on various cases. It was always, a good story, but never to the point of breaking anyone's confidence. But what we learned is that while we were coming up with new stories and new problems, there was something that he's already seen one way or another, and knew just what to say and how to say it to help figure it out. But, there was never a week that we didn't hear something new, that we were not completely amazed by the amazing work that him, and I have to mention, his wife, who is extremely, extremely close to us. I know my wife is very, very close to her, and all of his children that are involved in chesed and having yeshivas and schools and involved in their own communities. Greenwald from Eretz Yisrael, everybody knows, is involved in a tremendous amount of askanas. He has, a girls' seminary there, and Rav Hananya, the boys' yeshiva. Also, he's really, you can tell who somebody is by their family and the people around them, and this is somebody that really was special.
That he certainly was, and we're going to miss him. I want to thank Zvi Gluck for taking time out of your busy schedule to give us a little glimpse into the personality, the life of Rabbi Ronald Greenwald, the blessed memory, a founder of Camp Smuggin of Rum and Camp Sternberg. Involved a lot of chesed work, helping people in need. Also involved in spy swaps and other things that I'm sure more stories will come out in the next days and weeks and months. Zvi Gluck, thank you for joining us.
We should speak to Simchas. Thank you very much.
Amen. And we're going to be right back. Don't go away. Stay tuned.